And good afternoon. This is the Elliott Wave daily update for the NASDAQ 100 being recorded on Tuesday, October the 28th at approximately 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. The market is just reopening, and Globex had opened at 26,185, trade down to 72. And you can see it's just going to bounce around as all these opening orders get filled back and forth. So the market is continuing to kind of rise at the moment. So let's kind of quickly go over this so that maybe I will put it in place because it will have moved to the next level. Good rallies today, spike rallies, as we just zipped right above 26,000 and kept going. In fact, we got above 26,100, then we got above 26,200 all today. And so it was another very parabolic-like, and several times where it spiked, where it's like sitting at one and spiked up 5 or 10 points and then just kind of came back down. And that was due to like news releases. Basically, it was a lot based on NVIDIA has signed some agreements and some deals, one with Palantir, I think it is, and the other with some other makers, and then we're really going to start working on providing AI security for some different algorithms. So that's actually pretty cool. And but what it did in NVIDIA was that it kind of, NVIDIA was trading 190, 193, coming back, 193, 194, coming back. This one sent it up above 200. And so at one point, the market right now is in NVIDIA. Let me just double check. It's 203. It has traded over 204, but now it's coming back in a little bit again. And that's all good. So, and this was on that news today. So also, let's just kind of go over what we can expect for tomorrow. Again, in terms of numbers, we have a couple that actually will be coming out on Wednesday. We should get pending home sales, I believe. And then the bigger one, of course, is the FOMC interest rate decision. And that'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern with Powell's press conference at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, it's a given. Everyone's like, no way. They're doing it. They're going to give us a 25 basis point cut tomorrow for sure. And that I've seen on the tape. So there are news stories coming out that that's just a given, and that's fine. If so, we shouldn't get that much of a reaction from it. Would you say so? Let's just pay attention and watch and see what happens, because there's going to be an algorithm out there that's going to go like, oh, rate cut, boom, buy it. And they're going to give it a shot. And so see it all the time, folks. So I would be expecting it. Now, here's how we're leaving this for today. Again, we are in the minute fifth wave going up. And that minute fifth wave in both the NASDAQ and the S&P, I believe, is forming a diagonal triangle in the fifth wave. So when we're looking at this, and we're looking at an ending diagonal fifth wave in an uptrend, right? So we're just peaking, screaming to find that top in this triangle. And so far, what we may have completed today, again, leaving the door open for it to make one more little rip higher. And there's that level, but I mean, they could continue to rip it. If we go up another 200 tomorrow, we'll be sitting up here at 26,600. And so that, is kind of in the black zone, so to speak, because there's just nothing else there. There's not even a fib close, but it can do it for sure. And otherwise, I can mark this as complete. Let me just drop it down to the 15-minute real quick, and then you can kind of see that. So we have 1, 2, and then this humongous 3. And that's an internal. This is a sub-minuet C wave. These are sub-minuet degree. So it's like really breaking it down, but yet the market, even inside there, puts this dynamic third wave in. I mean, it's perfect. It's Elliott perfect, to be honest with you. It just climbed. It was almost out of control. It actually did contain two gaps, not so much here, but in the NDX, the first gap was here, and the second gap, of course, was here, is what we got last Sunday, the opening of Globex. Now, we have that news coming out, but also tomorrow. Anyway, let me finish this thought before I start talking the news again. So I'm thinking that we could have finished it. And if so, I want to go over what's now required. So I'm going to bring this back to the hourly chart so that we can get inside and see this inside. So when we're looking at this, and because it is a diagonal triangle and ending diagonal fifth wave in an uptrend, there are a couple of things. All the subwaves 1 through 5, do tend to be zigzags. Well, here we have a zigzag in wave 1, a zigzag in wave 2, a zig and a humongous zag in wave 3. So all of that is good. So that part we're following through, and it is. Here's the one that a lot of people probably go like, really? Why? That's just because it is a rule, and that is that wave 4 must overlap wave 1. Now, been kind of here, let me just kind of give you my thoughts on this. This, to me, is almost perfect. We get this pullback. The market has to come down, overlap wave 1, which and here brings the NASDAQ down pretty big. NASDAQ comes back down towards below 25,100 for sure. And if I just kind of put in, that's going against today's high, to saying that did complete 5. And I would put that in. We can take a quick look. 786, right? 618, perfect. Brings it right down to it. And I would say, yeah, okay, it overlapped, even though it equaled, because 618 would be very popular here for it to come down to. 786 also works. That's 24,800. You're like, well, come on, what's going on? Because we've got all these great earnings supposed to come out. They're going to cut the interest rate, blah, blah, blah. Interest rates already factored in, right? So what the market reacts to that is kind of like, okay, why will you do that? It's already been factored in. We're going to work off of lower interest rates. So, and the market has been. We've been going up. So a correction, excuse me, could come in various forms. Tomorrow, on an earnings front, we have we have. Let me see. I got this: Google, Meta, and Microsoft tomorrow. We have 3 Max 7s. I'm sure there's some others, but those are the 3 major ones for the NASDAQ. Very major. And Microsoft today, the first whipping out of the gate, taking us just like on huge volume, spiking higher, was Microsoft. And Microsoft, it got reported that they've, in the last, I think it was 7 or 8 or something like that, earnings cycles, they have kind of like blown the doors off. They've been like really, really positive. So they thought, okay, why wait? Why wait until tomorrow? Let's do what we can do today. So they did. And the stock was traded as high. I saw traded as high as 450, or excuse me, 550. And I thought, wow, that's like pretty wild. And then it just calmed itself down and it came back in. Still provided a lot of upside. Then it came the NVIDIA news, and that just kind of popped. So we had those things coming in. Now tomorrow, I'm not saying, a couple of things, right? We get the rate cut. That's already baked in, so it shouldn't be a surprise. What they're all really going to be listening for is Powell's speech. And what he says in that speech is either going to be real dovish, or he's going to tell us how great things are looking. So to kind of spread out this euphoria, like, oh, so yeah, we might have another cut this year. And that would be in the December meeting. So again, that's how and what he says about where we are in this battle against inflation. Now we know that inflation kind of is creeping back in on the consumer side. So, I don't know what else to say, but he'll be talking about that, I'm sure. And the market should react. There's that. That we do get decent reports, but maybe Google doesn't come blow the doors off. Maybe Meta doesn't blow the doors off. Maybe Microsoft doesn't come out as great. They have decent earnings, but not as blowing doors off or what like they have in the past. Those three combined, if it's still not bad earnings, but not yay, let's go up 100 points in the stock price. Now it could. Meta also known for like, hi, surprise. And the next thing you know, Meta's jumping $100 because it's already trading at $750. It gets real thin when you start getting up in these numbers. So there could be two things. Meta has good earnings and at the same time announces a stock split. We've seen that too, right? Just talking here. All right. So there's a lot of stuff that can come out. And then on Thursday, we have Apple and Amazon. And yes, Apple and Amazon. Plus, that is also when the United States and China are sitting down, all of the trade reps and everybody all sitting down to put the hands together and write all the details down and agree. And that should also produce some type of a response from the market. We sort of got that today because we got a little tidbit about how, hey, yeah, it's all looking good. They're going to come to this agreement and it's all going to be signed, sealed, and delivered by Trump and by Xi Jinping. And everybody goes home relatively happy. But I don't know. The proof will be tomorrow. We'll find out. So again, how high will it go if they're starting to back off on these tariffs that we've not already put in to, say, for example, NVIDIA, which has, which just suffered some, all the chip makers, et cetera. Just if things start to normalize, if we get the rare earth minerals that China says we're going to disperse them a little bit differently and not give you guys as much as you want. So we'll see what happens tomorrow in this agreement. And we'll see if it actually gets through, or will one side or the other just blow it up at the last minute. If that should happen, I can't say it won't, then expect this thing's going to start correcting. Now, it's going to feel like, oh, that's the top of the top, and now we're just going. And I'm going to say, no, let's keep in mind. That's why I'm telling you about the diagonal triangle and what has to happen if it is going to be an ending diagonal triangle and a fifth wave in an uptrend. Wave 4 has to overlap wave 1. That pulls it back 618. If we finish up here 26, closer to even 26,500, and we're going to come to 25,100, that's 1,000 points. But that's how fast this market's been moving, folks. So, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen in one day. I think we can get a bulk, we can get a whopping third wave. But here's the other thing, that I've been kind of working with, that the algorithms are talking about, that we should kind of decline into the end of October, and then rally again until like mid-November. And then, or actually even decline until like mid-November, then rally and a little bit. And then around December, the second week of December, then we kind of top again. And we start declining into the balance of the year. Now, so there's those factors. And so how can we spend time here really just moving in a range, right? Well, there's the range. And I think the market would be very comfortable trading in here. And I think we could have a lot of really good trading, and not just these one way to the moon shots. Again, it becomes, it wasn't the most difficult thing, but it was like it wasn't really doing anything. It was just, and then suddenly it would spike. So volume actually picked up today towards the end. Okay, they've already switched it. I keep forgetting. It was over 1 million in the S&P, and the NASDAQ still less than 500,000. So light volume for most of the day. Now, Let's just take a look. So we are still higher, but not actually pushing back above 26,200. So again, I am going to kind of bring this down and say, what does it look like here? A little bit different than in the S&P. And I can kind of go like this and bring it up a little bigger. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and a 4. We're overlapping. So it leaves a 3. So in this one, different than in the S&P, by the way. S&P looks like, nah, it could be done, and we continue to go lower. But it did that today. So don't forget that today on the opening, they were selling something in the S&P was being driven lower initially and then raced higher. So the NASDAQ was just going while the S&P was kind of tackling lower. So maybe that happens again. So this looks like 3 to me. So unless we relax again and we come down and we go below that, and then we can start to form 5 down. So we could have like 1, 2, 1, 2, something like that, or just, yeah, that could be, I don't like it, but it could be a very quick little 5. But yeah, but it could be. And this could be a little bounce in between and we come back and start going back down again. That's the whole thing, package, folks. Exactly when these paths are going to start, it's up to the market. We have a lot of news. We have a lot of things to digest. Trading, the one thing I want to be aware of is like we are in new all high territory and the markets are thin. So getting caught. Now this happened to me today. I kind of decided that I was over in the S&P, which I normally don't trade. I normally trade the NASDAQ. But I saw the S&P just kind of going down. I thought, oh, I'm going to start buying that because it should eventually just start ripping along with the NASDAQ, which it did eventually, but not for a while. So I ended up sitting in a position and building it too fast and too much, and ended up taking a pretty big hit. Now I made it all back, but see, it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary because in my mind, it's like I get a little stubborn. And so I did end up, making the money back and then going out positive on the day, which is fine. The important thing is like if you are a day trader and you're in there and you're trading, you can't sit with something because it'll eventually turn. But how much do you want to give back without, as a day trader, participating in the trend at that moment and making your money? So instead of giving as much as I did, I could have made that much and then still caught the turn and rode it all the way up and made even more as the market then did do what I thought it should do. All right, so that's kind of just the market analysis talk, or just the trading. So there is trading there. Options, they're the ones that are really responsible for a lot of this, the movement we're seeing, to be honest with you. And to see these spikes because something big will come in and trade and the dealers have to go hedge. So whatever doing the trade usually has got a hedge and they're buying more than that's available. So the markets are thin. That's the other thing. So that's when, as far as the trading goes, waiting for it to stop. If they had larger orders to sell and nobody's willing to buy it, same reason as we're running higher and they're just coming in with these big orders and the market orders, everybody pulls their offers and the market will just jump because they have to fill the order. So then what we're left with are the algorithms that are actually, making the markets the bid offers in these indexes and in the ETFs. And so, and they have to trade. Their obligation to the exchange is to actually provide the market, but they're providing one lots. And what do you got? 50 to buy. It moves. Okay. So enough said on all of that. Back out here to the hourly chart. So we're looking, I'm going to allow for an additional rise, which basically would go about 100 points above where we were and more towards 26,316 to 26,350. Now, 350 is going to be where that C wave will be 1.618 times the length of the A wave. Common. And here, wave 5 would be equal to wave 1 at 26,316. Also most common. So these numbers are sitting there waiting. And that's why I thought, it looks like 3, probably get another little rise. And then maybe we start this fourth wave. So again, then apply the fourth wave guidelines and the one rule, and let's have some fun. That's what I'm hoping for, folks. Really, I think it's like when we get some downside, because it'll go fast because nobody wants to buy it. It's like, oh, it's the top of the top, and if we can just understand, we just got to work it. So in other words, it's like if you know that it's going to come down, here's the other thing: it should come down in a zigzag. So wave A should be 5, wave B should be 3, and wave C should be 5. So that makes it a little bit easier to get in there and to stay in the trade. Right? Because if you're in a zigzag, if you're in a 5-wave structure moving down and you can count 1, 2, and you're dropping in the third, you got that it's going to be the longest and the strongest. So maybe you get a little bit more relaxed to hold on to the trade. All right. So that's going to be it. Our next update will be tomorrow morning.